Three boys were about to be kicked out by their father. Their adoptive father had gone bankrupt and was drowning in debt. The kids would rather drop out of school than leave his side. But the father said coldly, "Unless you turn into daughters, there's no way you can stay." To everyone's shock, a tiny dumpling of a girl showed up at the door, calling him Daddy. She declared that whoever kept her, she'd reincarnate into their family and bless them with endless fortune. Just as the man tried to shake her off, she clung tightly to his leg. In a pouty baby voice, she cried, "Daddy's bad. You slept with mommy and tried to run away." The award-winning actor Lee Zabai, who prided himself on his spotless private life, crouched down and asked seriously, "When did I ever sleep with your mom and run off?" But the little girl not only gave the exact time and place, she even handed him a paternity test, convinced he was about to acknowledge her. Instead, the next second he scooped her up like luggage, ready to ship her out. Just then, the eldest son stepped forward. "Dad, didn't you say that no matter how awful you are, Lee Zabai, you'd never abandon your little lover from a past life? Raising a little sister costs money. Dad, you need to get a job. I can help take care of her." He shot his two younger brothers a look, and the boys instantly understood. They chimed in, saying they could protect their sister and even feed her. But Lee Zabai only gave a wicked grin. "That little one is my daughter, and I'll acknowledge her. As for you three, get lost. The money I'd spend raising you is enough to hire a whole team of nannies." To his surprise, the eldest pulled out a bank card. "I don't need your support. My scholarships have saved up 200,000. It's more than enough for college, and I'll use the rest to help raise my sister." The second boy refused to be outdone, handing over a messy stack of cash. "This is what's left of my protection fees this month. I'll have even more next month. It's all for raising sis." The youngest didn't have money, but he did have buns and shrimp, all earned from free taste tests. So he declared proudly, "I can share free meals with my sister," leaving Lee Zabai clutching his forehead in despair. But the little dumpling, who could see fortune itself, clapped her tiny hands. As expected of Destiny's chosen sons, "You're born to do great things." Still unwilling to accept fate, Lee Zabai ran another paternity test. The result confirmed it. This little girl really was his lover from a past life. In an instant, he turned into a doting girl dad. "Sweetheart, what's your name?" "My name is Weiji. I don't share mom's surname, so you couldn't find her." Lee Zabai patted her head, saying he had no interest in her mother, and asked her to choose, dad or mom. Weiji picked dad without hesitation, assuring him her mom would never come to take her back. Lee Zabai never imagined that the Gu family's old scheme would leave him with a daughter. Such a cute and sensible one at that. He glanced around, only to realize she hadn't brought any luggage. She piped up, "Mom said daddy's rich, so you'll buy me everything new." Little did she know her rich daddy had just gone bankrupt and was buried in debt. Hearing this, Lee Zabai immediately ordered his 3 foster sons to buy daily necessities for their little sister, adding, "Buy only the most expensive ones, not just the best." The eldest, unable to resist his adorable sister, took her hand and asked if she wanted to come along. To their shock, Lee Zabai instantly switched into overprotective mother hen mode. "It's too late. No kids are going out tonight." His 3 foster sons felt crushed and protested, "We're kids too, you know." Before they could argue further, Weiji latched onto him tightly. With wide, sparkling eyes, she asked expectantly, "Daddy, can I go to the supermarket?" Without a word, Lee Zabai scooped her up and headed out. Luckily, the second son reacted fast, yelling, "Hey Lee, where do you think you're going?" Lee Zabai snapped back impatiently, "Shut up and follow me." The next moment, they were already inside a chain supermarket. Remembering that Lee Zabai had said to buy only the most expensive, the eldest son rushed to the new arrivals section, convinced all little girls loved pink. But their sister immediately pointed at yellow instead. With a cold snort, the second boy yanked a yellow pajama set off the rack and tossed it to her. To his surprise, she threw it right back, because the bunny printed on it wasn't white. The second boy's eyes darkened, unleashing a death stare to try and intimidate her. But their sister immediately ran to complain. "Daddy, brother bullied me." Her brother panicked. He definitely didn't want to be kicked out by dad. Luckily, their father was too busy shopping to bother with them. Relieved, the second brother pulled a face right back at her. Snitch, better watch out or you'll wet the bed tonight. Fortunately, Dad arrived in time to rescue Weiji's little face from being squished. Just then a call came in from an unknown number. As soon as Li Zibai picked up, a hostile voice sneered, Li Zibai, you still have the mood to shop? Seems you're not desperate enough yet. The kid in your car looks pretty cute. At those words, Li Zibai froze in place. He scanned the area but saw no suspicious figures. On the other end, the caller chuckled, funny, I could swear I heard her call you daddy. Sensing something was wrong, Weiji looked up at him nervously. What's happening? Her tiny hand tugged at his sleeve. Daddy, what's wrong? Li Zibai quickly hung up and reassured her. Nothing's wrong. Let's go home. Back at home, Li Zibai asked, Weiji, can you bathe yourself? The third brother immediately started stripping his own clothes, declaring he would help his sister take a nice clean bath. Horrified, Weiji clapped her hands over her eyes and shrieked, Gross brother! You pervert! Seeing his son scare his precious daughter, Li Zibai immediately grabbed the third boy. Black room 1 hour. Eldest and second 30 minutes each. The second brother shouted in protest, Why us? Before he could finish, Li Zibai cut him off coldly. Talk back again and I'll add another hour. Inwardly he cursed these 3 brats. I really should just send them away. Weiji, meanwhile, looked at her unlucky brothers with pity. Then she walked into the bathroom herself, reminding her dad, no peeking. Yet Li Zibai still couldn't relax. Could such a tiny being really manage to bathe on her own? Restlessly, he paced back and forth outside the bathroom, straining his ears at every little sound, terrified something might go wrong. In the end, he chose to stay quietly at the door, refusing to leave her side. When Weiji finally came out, she found her dad still waiting there. The next second, he pulled her into his arms with aching tenderness. With deep concern, he asked, Did you always bathe by yourself at home? Weiji calmly replied, I'm already a big kid. I don't need any help. Yet his daughter's words completely shattered Li Zibai's composure. He realized she must have grown up with no one to care for her. Why else would a child so small know how to bathe herself? What he didn't know was that inside Weiji's tiny body was the soul of someone from 1,000 years ago. There was no way she'd ever let anyone see her bare. While blow-drying her hair, Li Zibai whispered, Daddy's bankrupt now. I have no money and there are many dangers around me. Are you afraid to stay by my side? Weiji stared at him blankly. Does that mean bad people want to hurt you? He gave her a solemn nod. In her heart, Weiji thought, no wonder Dad clearly has destiny's favor, yet misfortune keeps chasing him. Someone must be sabotaging him. The next second, she grabbed his collar and planted a firm kiss on his cheek. I'm not afraid. I believe Daddy will protect me. That single gesture made Li Zibai swear silently. Gu Qing'an, you can target me all you want. But if you dare lay a finger on my daughter, I'll make you regret ever being born human. With that, he immediately dialed a number. The next morning, when Weiji woke up, she found an unfamiliar guest in the house. From the conversation, she learned the truth. There was a villain named Gu Qing'an, the CEO of Shanghai Entertainment. He had bribed her father's agent, forced him into shady dual contracts, then helped the man flee with stolen tax money, dumping all the blame on her superstar dad. And now, no advertisers, no film projects, and no investors were willing to work with her father. Now, just to raise his daughter, Dad was even willing to accept variety shows. Yet he'd once sworn, if I ever do variety, I'm a pig. Clearly, he truly loved her more than his pride. The moment his agent heard he had a daughter, she nearly spat water all over the place. Watching the auntie's face scream, no way in hell, Weiji decided it was her cue. She dashed over to her dad and chirped, Daddy, did you dream of me last night? Li Zibai then introduced Weiji to his manager, Auntie Xia. To his shock, the woman suddenly exploded. Back then I wanted to have your baby, but you swore you'd never want kids, and told me to stay far away, you jerk. And now I'm still single while you've already got a daughter this big. You're the worst of the worst. Seeing that Auntie Xia genuinely liked her dad, Weiji hurried to explain, Please don't misunderstand, Auntie. Daddy only found out about me yesterday. Thankfully, Auntie Xia was reasonable. After learning Gu Qing'an already knew about Weiji, She even lent Li Zibai her villa for protection. But not wanting her father to owe any romantic debts, Weiji softly suggested she could just stay in a smaller house instead. But her dad pinched her little cheeks and said firmly, "Your safety matters more than anything else." Those words pierced Weiji's heart. In her past life, she died so miserably. Now she couldn't help but throw herself into his arms. Finally, someone cared about her. When they moved into the new villa, Weiji's eyes immediately landed on the swing in the yard. She sat on it looking utterly content. In her past life, there had also been a swing in her courtyard, though the towering walls had blocked her from the outside world. At least that swing was her escape. When she swung high enough, she could steal glimpses beyond the walls. She thought to herself, "I'll decorate this swing to be just as beautiful as the one from before." So she hurriedly called out to her brothers, "Brothers, help me dress up my swing." The eldest said he had to help Dad move things, while the second scoffed, "If you dress up a swing, it'll suffocate from the heat." Before he could finish, Dad yanked his ear hard, making him yelp for mercy. Their father ordered all three boys to stay with their sister, giving the second a stern warning to behave himself. But the moment Dad stepped away, the second brother leaned in and threatened Weiji viciously. "I'm heading out. If you dare snitch, I'll beat you up." Luckily, their eldest brother was the reliable type. Having grown up in a palace in her past life, Weiji had always loved the color yellow. With her brother's help, the bear swing was soon draped in bright yellow clothes. When Dad came out and saw the blinding display, he sighed. His precious daughter had inherited his looks, but definitely not his sense of style. Still, he decided to protect her fragile little heart. So when Weiji asked if the swing looked nice, he forced a smile and lied, "It looks wonderful." She then asked him to write on it, "Weiji's swing, no trespassing." After finishing the sign, Dad rubbed his forehead. "Wait a second. This doesn't even belong to us." Just then the doorbell rang. Li Zibai opened the door and asked the boy outside what was going on. The boy answered coldly, "One of the kids from your yard tried to extort protection fees from me. He's already been taken away by the security guards." Grinding his teeth, Li Zibai stormed off to the property office to bail his son out. The boy was about to head home when his eyes caught the swing in the courtyard. The writing on the wall behind it made his heart skip a beat. Same name, same swing. Could it really be his Aji? Meanwhile, the second brother was dragged back by Li Zibai, cheeks pinched tight. The moment they arrived, he spotted the tough kid from earlier right at their gate. Enemies meeting always sparked fire. He stomped forward, snarling, "What are you doing here? Looking for a fight?" The boy shot him a calm glance and replied coolly, "A fight only counts if both sides are equals." Li Yanjing nearly exploded. What the hell was that supposed to mean? Hearing the commotion, Weiji peeked over her father's shoulder. And the instant she saw him, the little fangirl in her went wild. She had thought her three brothers were already handsome enough, but today she finally understood what perfection looked like. Yet those eyes, why did they feel so strangely familiar? Oh no, staring like this is rude. She quickly rubbed her eyes. Then she called out to her second brother, "Brother, fighting is wrong." But in her heart she was thinking, if such a gorgeous boy gets his face hurt, I'll be heartbroken. Hearing Weiji's words, Li Zibai immediately turned and demanded, "What's going on?" Li Yanjing cursed inwardly. "What do you think? I went out looking for business and ran into a tough nut. The guy not only proved he didn't need protection but even had security haul me off. No way could Dad or Weiji ever find out about something this humiliating." So he bent at a full 90 degrees and apologized sincerely, knowing that admitting fault was the only way to cover it up. Just then, Weiji pressed a tiny hand over her dad's mouth. "Admitting mistakes makes you a good kid. Daddy, don't scold brother." Then she added sweetly, "It's so hot outside." Without hesitation, Li Zibai turned to head indoors, praising her words as wise. Yanjing finally breathed in relief and was about to follow them in. But the boy blocked his way. "Wait 1 minute," he said coldly. Yanjing blinked, confused, not sure what was coming. Moments later, the boy returned holding a thick wad of cash. "Here's 10 years of protection fees," he announced. Yanjing almost accepted him as his little brother, until the boy added icily, "A client isn't a little brother. A client is God." Watching the boys back as he left, Li Yanjing just couldn't figure it out. If the guy didn't need protection, why pay him protection fees? Still, remembering that he had to help Dad raise their little sister, he handed the money straight to his older brother without hesitation. Under the eldest's lead, the kids quickly decided how to use it. First rule: never give it to Dad or the second brother would definitely get beaten. And second, Dad must never find out. So the eldest patted Weiji's head, making her promise not to tattle. Once she agreed, he generously handed the youngest 5 yuan as hush money. No more than this, the rest belongs to our sister. With that, he quietly pocketed the cash. Then he declared seriously, Dad's a man destined for big things. He shouldn't be bothered with small business like this. Weiji never expected her big brother to be this pragmatic. Meanwhile, superstar Li Zibai had just moved into his manager's villa when she arrived bearing a pile of gifts, claiming they were leftover stock from a kid's clothing brand under her artists. But to Weiji's eyes, the clothes looked freshly bought. There wasn't a single crease on them. Weiji couldn't help but wonder, was this manager trying to become her stepmom? Just then the woman brought news for Li Zibai. At last, a romance variety show was willing to work with him. But the producer was a complete rookie, had no reputation, and the pay was dirt cheap. Only 2 million for an entire season. Without a second thought, Li Zibai agreed to join. His manager tried to talk him out of it. After all, he was a Grand Slam award-winning actor. Was he really going to stoop to a third-rate variety show? But with 4 kids to feed and the Gu family plus Shanghai Entertainment blocking him, he had no chance at quality projects. So he told her to contact the producer immediately. He insisted on negotiating in person, and if terms were acceptable, he'd sign right away. His manager was furious. Was she just window dressing at this point? Li Zibai explained calmly, Gu Qing'an already knows about Weiji. On my own, I can't guarantee she won't be exposed. Better to reveal it myself than let him smear her later. Eavesdropping with her little ears perked, Weiji finally pieced some things together. She made up her mind. She had to uncover who this villain targeting her dad really was. With that thought, she glanced out the window at her brothers. The next second, Weiji dashed out to her brothers. Big brother, do you know who Gu Qing'an is? Every time Daddy mentions him, he looks upset. The eldest thought for a moment, then simplified it in a way she could grasp. Gu Qing'an and Dad share the same father. Do you understand now? Weiji froze. Did that mean Dad was the Gu family's illegitimate son? Still, her body was only 3.5 years old. So she kept up the act and asked innocently, like how I have you as my brothers? Then why doesn't Daddy like him? But the second brother snorted, Big bro, why bother explaining? If she finds out Dad's a bastard child, it'll totally ruin his image. Weiji pretended not to understand, tilting her head. So Daddy has a dad too? Then, does he also have a mom? The words were barely out before the second brother clapped a hand over her mouth, warning harshly, never ask questions like that again, especially not to Dad. That woman took off with a fortune of the Gu family's inheritance and left Li to be framed. I hate her guts. If you ever ask again, I'll pull your teeth out. Weiji thought to herself while second brother, way to spill everything you shouldn't have. Just then the doorbell rang. Thinking it was takeout, the third brother bolted ahead. Drooling in anticipation, he flung open the door, only to find not food, but the neighbor boy standing there with 2 middle-aged servants. After asking, they learned the neighbors had brought over homemade food as a gesture of goodwill. But the boy's eyes never left Weiji. Seeing this, Weiji couldn't help blurting out, so pretty. Big brother, you're not only handsome but kind too. The next moment, she happily ran toward him, warmly inviting him inside. Just as she reached to tug his sleeve, her tiny hand was softly enveloped in his. Instantly, that strange sense of déjà vu washed over her again. His face remained expressionless, yet she could feel the quiet warmth in his touch. She couldn't resist asking, Big brother, have we met somewhere before? The boy froze for a moment, then replied vaguely, maybe. Weiji was about to say more when suddenly her body was lifted off the ground. Her eldest brother had scooped her up, barking angrily at the handsome neighbor. Why are you putting your hands on my sister? Glancing over, Weiji saw her other 2 brothers glaring daggers at the handsome neighbor. Oh, My brothers don't look very friendly, she thought. Just then Li Zibai came out after hearing the noise. He scanned the scene and asked in a low voice, "What's going on?" The two brothers burst out angrily. "That brat next door grabbed our sister's hand. Yeah, and he held on real tight." The eldest recapped. They came to deliver food as new neighbors and then he grabbed her hand. Weiji was baffled. Since when did the entire focus become about hand-holding? Even Dad took her little hand, warning, "You're a girl. You can't let other boys touch your hands, understand?" With a sigh, Weiji nodded, thinking that would be the end of it. But Dad wasn't done. He turned to the boy and snapped coldly, "We don't need food in this house." The servants bristled. Our young master was kind enough to bring food. What a thankless reception. The maid tried to argue further, but the boy silenced her with a gesture. Calmly, he said, "You may not lack food, but you do lack clean food. Takeout isn't clean." Without waiting for a reply, he set the food box on the ground and walked away. The superstar's family stood frozen, dumbfounded. Li Zibai thought to himself, she really shouldn't eat takeout all the time. But the closest he'd ever been to a kitchen was sprinkling salt on someone's wound. Just then his daughter squealed, "Daddy, this looks so yummy." Weiji gazed at the feast, drooling, and thanked the handsome boy under her breath. "This is way too fancy." Watching the two little ones fall completely under the spell of food, the eldest and second brother suddenly felt a strong sense of crisis. The brothers were convinced. The neighbor boy wasn't just bringing money and food. His real target was their sister. Unforgivable. So after dinner, they volunteered to return the food box themselves. They rang the neighbor boy's doorbell. Moments later, he came out, immediately sensing their hostile intent. Before they could speak, he struck first. "Let's get this clear. I won't be taking back the protection fees I paid." The two thought, "Smart kid." Directive. He continued calmly, "My feelings for your sister are simple. I won't hurt her, and I'm not trying to take her away from you. Besides, you can't control who I like. And the money? That has nothing to do with her. Any other questions?" Li Yanjing quickly waved his hands. "No problem here." The eldest, however, glanced at his clueless younger brother, 2 years older than the boy yet losing ground, and sighed. Then he asked, "I have a question. You don't actually need protection, do you? And as our neighbor, you could interact with my sister normally. So why spend such a large sum? Shouldn't I be suspicious?" The boy chuckled softly, answering without hesitation, "Because the whole country knows. Your father went bankrupt. Any more questions?" Li Jianxin was left speechless. After a long pause, the eldest finally muttered, "No problem." With that, the boy turned to leave. But after only 2 steps, he stopped and added casually, "Oh, and whatever your sister wants to eat tomorrow, write it on a paper ball and toss it over." Li Yanjing bit his tongue but couldn't hold back in the end. "Are you really only 8 years old?" He had thought himself mature for his age, but this brat 2 years younger acted even more like an adult. The boy frowned. "Do I seem too old to you?" Inwardly, he thought, "I'm only 5 years older than Aji." Yanjing quickly denied it. "No, I just think you're too young." Still frowning, the boy replied calmly, "Yes, I'm too young. But that's good. I'll finally get the chance to grow up alongside Aji." The next morning, as soon as Weiji woke up, her second brother blocked her from going downstairs. She already knew what they were up to. After all, the 3 brothers had spent all of yesterday slyly asking what she liked to eat. But in this 3.5-year-old body, she could only play dumb. 5 minutes later, her second brother finally called her down for breakfast. She rushed downstairs excitedly. And there he was, the handsome neighbor boy, sitting right there. But her joy lasted barely 2 seconds before she was faced with a tough choice. On one side was the loving breakfast her second brother had made just for her. On the other, the delicious feast brought over by the neighbor boy. Yet her brother's noodles looked suspiciously like dark cuisine. Could she really refuse to eat it? Then she remembered, just yesterday she told her brothers she loved all 3 of them the most. But the neighbor's food was clearly way tastier. Torn between family affection and gourmet temptation, she was stuck in agony. Just as she thought salvation had arrived, her dad showed up. But instead of saving her, he told her to choose for herself. Slowly, her hand inched toward her brother's loving noodles, but it felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds. Then the neighbor boy spoke up. Adults make choices. Kids can have it all. That makes perfect sense. And without hesitation, Weiji chose both. Weiji didn't just praise her brother's cooking. She also called the neighbor boy's dishes beautiful. Her father, Li Zibai, pinched her little cheeks fondly. So young yet already knows how to care for others' feelings. Then he glanced at his 3 useless sons, always competing for attention, and at the pesky neighbor boy who came every day to do the same. Irritated, he demanded, "What's your name?" The boy calmly pulled out pen and paper, wrote 3 characters, and then patiently taught Weiji syllable by syllable. "Your brother's name is Hutingxi." Weiji repeated seriously, while her dad and brothers were already sharpening knives in their hearts. Soon after, Li Zibai brought the kids to meet the variety show's producer. The producer greeted them warmly. The moment she came close to Weiji, she noticed the purple aura around Li Zibai suddenly brighten. Excitement surged in her chest. But Li Zibai, ever the jealous lemon, wasn't happy. "What, am I less attractive than this woman now?" Ignoring her outstretched hand, he walked straight past her. His plan was simple: to use the show as the stage to officially reveal his daughter's identity. When the producer politely asked him why, Li Zibai offered no answer. Li Zibai shot his eldest son a look, and Li Jianxin immediately handed over the prepared documents. The producer froze. Good grief. Over 70 restriction clauses just for his daughter. Watching the father-daughter dynamic, she eventually agreed to Li Zibai's conditions. At that moment, Jianxin called out to the producer, saying that he and his brothers wanted to join the show too, so the audience could see their father hadn't adopted them for show. Then he pinched his younger brother hard, making the boy's eyes well up instantly. With acting skills to match, Jianxin's own eyes filled with tears as he added, "Dad never abandoned us. This will make the show even better." The producer was speechless. So now this program is just his dad's public redemption special? But glancing again at Li Zibai and Weiji, she felt it wasn't impossible. "Fine," she said. "You can have the same terms as your sister." And right then, Jianxin pinched his poor brother once again. The younger brother immediately objected, insisting they had to be paid if they joined the show. This left the producer conflicted. After all, the program wasn't famous and had barely secured any sponsors. In the end, she agreed to let them join, but only as special guests for a few episodes. The brothers were thrilled. This meant they could spend the entire holiday with their little sister. To cut off Hutingxi's excuse of bringing food, Li Zibai decided to hire a cook. The family headed to a housekeeping service center. Unexpectedly, they ran into an old acquaintance there, Aunt Lin, who had cared for him since he was a child. To his surprise, she now had a 6-year-old daughter with her. Li Zibai couldn't help but ask who the girl's father was. Aunt Lin lowered her head and said, "Don't worry. She's not his. This child has nothing to do with you." Li Zibai simply gave her his home address before leaving with his kids. But even after hiring a cook to stop Hutingxi from using food as an excuse to get close to Weiji, the boy's tricks kept coming one after another. This time, Hutingxi showed up with an adorable puppy for Weiji. Instantly, he won her heart all over again. Her dad, the ultimate daughter slave, and her overprotective brothers were once again utterly defeated. But seeing Weiji so happy playing with the pup, the brothers racked their brains and still came up empty. The cook Li Zibai hired turned out to be Aunt Lin, the woman who had cared for him since childhood. To his surprise, she brought along a 6-year-old daughter. But the girl was a bit too calculating. Her very first words were, "Brother Li Zibai." Aunt Lin panicked, quickly covering her daughter's mouth. "What nonsense are you spouting?" Seeing the shock on Li Zibai's face, Aunt Lin hurried to explain, "Siyuan is my daughter with my ex-husband." But Li Zibai clearly didn't believe her. "I'll judge that for myself." Weiji was just as stunned. "Wait a second. Does this mean I suddenly have an aunt?" Li Zibai immediately dialed a number, his tone cold. "Come over. I need you to run a DNA kinship test." Just then, Weiji dashed over to Hutingxi. "Brother Hua, I think I might have an aunt now." She also realized that Lin Siyuan, like Hutingxi, was different. She couldn't sense any aura from either of them. "It's like you two are the special male and female leads in a story," she murmured, letting her thoughts slip out. Huatingxi blinked in confusion, then patted her head. Silly girl. No matter what anyone else thinks, Brother Huo will only ever like you. Weiji's cheeks flushed red. I never said my aunt would steal away my love, though I was a little worried. But hearing his reassurance, she beamed. I knew Brother Huo was the best. Meanwhile, her 3 brothers were practically drowning in jealousy. Suddenly, Weiji was lifted into the air. Her eldest brother had scooped her up. If Brother Huo will always like you, then so will your big brother. The second and third brothers quickly chimed in. We only like you too. We don't like that Lin Xiuan girl at all. She looks gloomy. For the sake of family unity, the eldest warned his brothers not to say things like that again. But the youngest muttered, but Lin Xiuan keeps sneaking peeks at our sister's room. So the eldest brother decided to observe quietly for now. The 6-year-old girl despised her mother, seeing her as useless. After all, her mother willingly worked as a servant for superstar Li Zibai. She knew she was Li Zibai's half-sister, yet her mother forbade her from revealing it and even from spending his money. Outwardly she obeyed, but inside she seethed with resentment. If it hadn't been for Li Zibai's father drunkenly violating her mother, how else would she have ended up pregnant before marriage and married to the wrong man? In her previous life, she had finally clawed her way up to become a top actress in the entertainment industry, only to be betrayed, bought out through her gambling addict father and die a tragic death. Though she was reborn, many things had already shifted. Li Zibai's adopted sons had not been sent back to the orphanage, and now, out of nowhere, he even had a daughter. Could it be that Weiji's appearance had changed everything? Did this mean her own fate could also be rewritten? No matter how Lin Xiuan tried to please Li Zibai, he treated her with nothing but icy indifference. So she thought to herself, then I'll have to win over Weiji. After all, she's the family's little darling. She offered Weiji a handmade bracelet. Seeing Weiji liked it, she immediately asked Li Zibai if she could play with her. Li Zibai gave her a cold glance, then turned his head away. His voice was flat. There's no safety seat in a taxi. She's too young to ride. Rage burned in Lin Xiuan's heart. I'm his half-sister, and yet he treats me this coldly? At just 6 years old, her schemes ran deep. She deliberately tugged Weiji along to pick things out. Then she piled all the items into Weiji's basket, making it look as though Weiji had chosen them. But Weiji had already seen straight through her plan. So she tugged on her brother's sleeve and said sweetly, Can you get another basket for my sister? Mine's too full already. Startled, the girl quickly waved her hands. No need. She even said she wouldn't buy anything and would help carry Weiji's basket instead. But Weiji firmly refused. I'm tired. I don't want to shop anymore. Then she asked her second brother to handle the basket and held out her arms for her eldest brother to carry her. So Li Jianshan lifted his sister into his arms and took her to their dad. Seeing his daughter's unhappy face, Li Zibai asked what was wrong. Weiji only muttered, I'm tired. But when he glanced at the basket, he instantly understood. He stayed silent. He simply picked Weiji up and told the others to check out. Later, when the girl's mother said they'd take the bus home, Li Zibai agreed without a word. On the bus, Weiji was still sulking. She had thought she was gaining an older sister, only to find out it was a schemer who wanted to take advantage of her. Feeling sorry for her, Li Zibai told the driver, Take us to the amusement park. At those words, Weiji's face lit up with delight. Watching the sweet interaction between father and daughter, the driver couldn't help but sigh with envy. You're lucky to have such a cute girl. He then asked, And those 3 in the back, are they yours too? Li Zibai nodded and praised them as well, saying they were very well behaved. The driver grew even more envious. Sons and a daughter, that's true happiness. Li Zibai paused for a moment. Am I really happy? Lately it felt like bad luck clung to him everywhere. But ever since this little girl appeared, she had brought him joy. Maybe this was what happiness felt like. With a proud smile he said, Yes, it is pretty happy. When they arrived home, the older girl came out eagerly, asking where they had gone. Weiji answered innocently, Daddy took us to the amusement park. Just then the girl's mother walked over too, warmly telling them to come have some water. Just then Weiji urged her brother, Hurry, give sister her things back. The girl froze in panic. Her mother had forbidden her from buying anything. If she found out, she'd be furious. Sure enough, Aunt Lin immediately asked, "What things? Did you buy something for Siyuan?" Though Li Jianshan disliked the girl's behavior, he didn't want to stoop to arguing with a 6-year-old. But the youngest brother blurted out, "No, we didn't buy them, she picked them herself. And they're exactly the same as what our sister chose." Aunt Lin stood there embarrassed and speechless. Li Zibai, however, looked unconcerned. "It's nothing. No need to fuss over something so trivial." Aunt Lin shot her daughter a sharp glare. Then she turned and walked away without looking back, leaving the girl to chase after her in a panic. "Oh no, mother's really mad at me now. She may be useless, but I'm still just a child. She's my only support, and the only link I have to the Li family. I need to win her back." Watching Aunt Lin ignore her daughter, the second and third brothers exchanged smug, gloating looks. But Weiji tugged on her second brother's sleeve, whispering, "That's not very nice. You're just making her feel worse." But the second brother scoffed, "Why should I care if she's embarrassed? When she schemed against you, did she care?" The third chimed in, "Yeah. She's awful. Auntie wouldn't buy it for her, so she tricked you into doing it." Weiji, however, replied seriously, "But that just makes Aunt Lin feel even worse." Their eldest brother knocked both boys lightly on the head. "Look at you. Your little sister isn't even 3 and she's already more sensible. How old are you again?" The third brother piped up cutely, "I'm 7. In 4 months I'll be 8. Everyone was left speechless. Inside, Weiji muttered, "Third brother, I'm pretty sure you're just trying to weasel your way out." Just then the doorbell rang. It was Li Zibai's manager. Li Zibai opened a folder and pulled out a DNA test report. At last he had the results. He told his eldest son to bring in Lin Siyuan and her mother. "Lin Siyuan, you are indeed my half-sister. But we only share blood ties. Legally, there's nothing between us. I'll support you until you're an adult. But on one condition, no one can ever know you're my sister." Lin Siyuan asked with a pitiful face, "Why can't I call you brother?" Li Zibai didn't even look at her, replying coldly, "You don't need to know. You just need to obey." He warned her further, "Taking care of you is a favor, not my duty, and certainly not an obligation. So don't harbor any expectations you shouldn't have. Understood?" Though full of grievance, Lin Siyuan bit her lip and answered, "Understood." Weiji, meanwhile, felt secretly relieved. If Dad had allowed her to call him brother, then they would have had to call Lin Siyuan, who was younger than them, aunt. Now at least it was the other way around. Lin Siyuan had to call them brother. But the youngest wasn't happy. "I don't want to be her brother." The second quickly countered, "Since Brother Li is her brother, if she calls us brothers too, that makes us the same generation as him." "Exactly. That puts us on the same level as him. How can we not take that advantage? Don't be stupid." Successfully convinced, the youngest joined in, and the two of them celebrated with wild glee. The eldest and Weiji just stared at them like they were idiots. Thinking of how Lin Siyuan had taken advantage of her earlier that morning, Weiji worriedly asked her eldest brother, "Does this mean we have to include her in everything now?" He was about to reassure her, "If you don't want to, you don't have to," but before he could finish, Lin Siyuan appeared behind them. Wearing a guilty expression, she said, "It was my fault today. Will you forgive me?" As the oldest child, the eldest simply replied, "As long as you correct your mistakes, it's fine." But Weiji turned away angrily, refusing to answer. Lin Siyuan, still playing the pitiful act, pressed on, "Can you take me with you now?" Just then the dog suddenly barked. It was Hua Tingxi coming to find Weiji. The moment she saw him, her mood brightened instantly. "Brother Hua, do you want to walk the dog with me?" she asked eagerly. Of course he agreed right away. He took her little hand and was about to leave, when her 3 brothers immediately shouted to stop them. The eldest declared he could carry Weiji himself, while the second barked, "Well, let go of my sister's hand, now." Watching this unfold, Lin Siyuan kept repeating the name Hua Tingxi under her breath. Could this really be Hua Tingxi, the famed heir of the phone corporation from my past life? Back then she never even had a chance to get near him. Now fate had dropped his childhood self right in front of her. Truly, heaven was favoring her. Yet what shocked her most was that the cold, aloof Hua Tingxi she remembered was being so gentle with that brat Weiji. Seeing the two talk happily, she couldn't stop herself from inching closer. Meanwhile, Weiji was pleading with him to walk the dog for her tomorrow, since she had to go record a show with her dad. Hua Tingxi promised he'd bring the puppy and visit her there. When Weiji still looked doubtful, he smiled. "We can pinky swear." But before their fingers could link, Weiji vanished, replaced by her eldest and second brother standing right in front of him. Turns out the youngest had pulled her away, while the elder two stood guard, warning coldly, "Stay away from our sister, brat. Don't you dare lay a hand on her." Lin Siyuan seethed with jealousy. This suddenly appeared Weiji had become the family's precious darling. Everything she herself wanted now flowed toward that brat. If she wanted anything, she realized she'd have to use Weiji as the key. With that thought, she stepped forward and patted Weiji on the shoulder. "Sister, who's this little boy?" Weiji answered honestly, "That's Brother Hua from next door." But Weiji instantly caught the look in her eyes. It wasn't pure at all. Her gaze clung to Hua Tingxi. A spark flashed in Weiji's mind. Could Lin Siyuan also be no ordinary child? After all, my own soul is an adult too. So she leaned close and whispered in Hua Tingxi's ear, "It looks like my aunt keeps staring at you." Hua Tingxi turned and shot Lin Siyuan a cold glance. Then he stood and said sharply, "Have you stared enough?" Lin Siyuan hurried to explain, "I was just curious." But Hua Tingxi radiated frost. "Don't get curious about the wrong people." Those weren't words an 8-year-old should even be capable of saying. And judging by Lin Siyuan's tearful apology, she had clearly understood his hidden meaning. No wonder Weiji couldn't sense any contract around them. Neither of them were really children. Good grief, what kind of world is this? Kids running around everywhere, with grown-up minds inside. Lin Siyuan swore to herself. She had to act more like a child, or her cover could be blown at any moment. A gemstone necklace worth tens of millions was handed over by an 8-year-old boy, as a gift to a 3-year-old girl. Only someone from immense wealth could afford such a thing. Of course, her father couldn't accept it. Bankrupt or not, he was still a movie king. So Li Zibai demanded the boy take the necklace back. But Hua Tingxi countered with conditions. "I can take it back. But while you're filming your show, I'll be the one delivering meals to my sister." Li Zibai snapped, "And how would you even know what show we're filming or where? You think you can just barge in?" Unfazed, Hua Tingxi replied, "The first episode of Love 1+1, filmed at Maozhuang Ancient Town in Yushan County, Jin City. Theme: budget travel. Your partner is Su Yingxing, popular drama actress, unpopular celebrity." Li Zibai froze. Even he didn't know the production details yet. How on earth did this brat know? Was he bluffing? Before Li Zibai could argue, Hua Tingxi was already walking away, tossing over his shoulder. "Since you didn't object, I'll take that as a yes. Be sure to tell Weiji for me." Li Zibai slumped onto the couch, brooding. Just then Weiji came running in, asking for her brother Hua. He flicked her forehead with a sharp snap. "All you ever think about is that brat. He's gone." Weiji immediately switched to full-on pouty mode, acting cute to win him over. Just then Li Zibai's phone rang. On the line was the show's producer, and everything he said matched Hua Tingxi's words exactly. At that moment, the three brothers and Lin Siyuan with her mother returned home. The youngest brother spotted the table full of snacks and his mouth instantly watered. Weiji grinned and told him, "I saved the biggest share for you." Overjoyed, he smothered her with kisses. "Sister, you're the best." But Weiji wrinkled her nose. "If you want to thank someone, thank Brother Hua. He gave them to us." The three brothers froze the moment they heard the food was from that brat next door. The second scoffed, "Who wants his stuff?" The eldest added, "You eat it, little sister. I'm not hungry." The youngest stared at the treats he'd just gained, tears welling in his eyes. In the end, he clenched his jaw and said, "Fine. I'll just keep one. The rest, I don't want them." Weiji secretly laughed. "You boys happily took Hua Tingxi's protection money, but now you won't even touch his snacks." Off to the side, Lin Siyuan seethed with jealousy. Why does that brat Weiji get all of Hua Tingxi's affection? Maybe it was the sharp look in Lin Siyuan's eyes, but Weiji turned to her, pulling out a lollipop. "Brother Hua gave me this. Do you want it?" she asked innocently. Lin Siyun quickly waved her hands. No, you eat it. But inside she fumed. If I ever take one, it'll be straight from Hua Tingxi's hand, not handed over by you. Li Zibai noticed his daughter staring at the pile of unwanted gifts, looking troubled. He suggested, why not give them to the crew tomorrow as thanks for their hard work? Wei Ji nodded eagerly in agreement. The moment Lin Siyun heard they were filming, her heart leapt. A program shoot? That's my chance. She rushed to ask, Uncle Li, can I come too? I can help watch over Wei Ji. But Li Zibai poured cold water on her hopes. The crew will shoot some behind-the-scenes footage here tomorrow. You and your mother should stay upstairs. Aunt Lin agreed right away, but Lin Siyun clenched her fists. Li Zibai really won't give me even the tiniest chance. Fine. I'll make sure you're the one begging me for help. Li Zibai had the brothers help Wei Ji pack her things when suddenly his phone rang. On the line, his manager's panicked voice shouted, Bad news. Someone leaked info. Now the network is flooded with people protesting your appearance on the show. Li Zibai didn't need to guess. This had to be Gu Qing'an's doing. He immediately ordered his manager to contact President Shi of Huala, since their top actress had just been poached by Gu Qing'an. Hanging up, Li Zibai muttered coldly, Gu Qing'an, do you really think I've stayed quiet because I can't fight back? The difference between sons and daughters couldn't be clearer. When the producer asked if they could film him waking his daughter in the morning, the movie king flatly refused. My daughter sleeps until she wakes naturally. But while Wei Ji was already up and ready, her brothers were still fast asleep. The producer sighed. Guess we'll just wait a bit longer. Suddenly, bang bang bang. Someone pounded on the door. It was Li Zibai's voice booming. Get up now. The crew was stunned into silence. The producer clutched his head. Didn't the movie king realize this kind of footage would fuel haters? But the staff were thrilled. Rough parenting for the sons? Golden content. Film it all. Next, the show planned a solo interview with Wei Ji. Worried she couldn't handle it, Li Zibai whispered, If you don't know how to answer, just skip it. But Wei Ji puffed up proudly. Daddy, my speaking skills are first class. Her confidence made Li Zibai burst out laughing. The host began with a classic trick question. So, you've only just started living with your dad. Do you think he loves you? Wei Ji thought to herself, such a lame setup. Let's mess with her a bit. Guess what this is? She held out her hand. The back of my hand. Wow, you're so smart, Auntie. Then she pointed at her foot. And this. Your foot. Wrong, it's the back of my foot. The host froze, utterly baffled. What on earth was this kid trying to pull? Then Wei Ji cupped her little face in her hands and asked, Auntie, what's this? The host hesitated, unsure this time. Your face. Wei Ji chirped. Wrong. It's Daddy's treasure. Daddy loves me so much. Auntie, you're silly for asking such a question. The host was floored. Wasn't this the kind of cheesy internet pickup line teens used? How could a 3-year-old pull it off? The host coughed awkwardly and quickly moved on. All right then, who ranks first among your 3 brothers? And who's second? She smirked to herself. This tricky question is bound to go viral. Too bad Wei Ji wasn't really just 3. Holding up her favorite bunny plush, Wei Ji said, Look, Auntie, see this heart? People inside can't line up in order. They have to squeeze in together until it's full. My big brother says a family should share one heart. The host was struck silent. Wow, maybe my perspective is too narrow. This movie king really raised her well. Still unwilling to give up, she pressed. Do you know what kind of show you're on? Of course I do. It's a dating show. A pretty auntie will date daddy, then become my new mommy. Wei Ji declared. The host's eyes lit up, gossip mode fully activated. So, if daddy really finds a new mommy, would you be upset? Wei Ji shook her head. I think the ones upset would be the other aunties who like daddy. The host was left speechless. He's too sharp for me. Still, she forced a smile and asked her final question. Then how many points would you give daddy in your heart? Wei Ji answered proudly, Of course 100. Because daddy has superpowers. The host blinked. Superpowers? What kind? The moment the words left her mouth, the host realized something was off. This smelled like another setup. Sure enough, Wei Ji chimed. Daddy's superpower is that he loves me the most. The host groaned inwardly. Called it. When the interview wrapped up, the host sighed, exhausted. Mr. Lee, your daughter's speech is incredible. Lee Zibai, unfazed, scooped Weiji into his arms and declared proudly, naturally. My treasure was born smart. The host thought to herself, how thick is the filter these two have for each other? With the behind-the-scenes segment done, the group headed off to the filming site. Along the way, a line of luxury cars cruised past. Weiji's eyes sparkled. That convoy is so pretty. But the very next second, she spotted Brother Hua sitting inside one of the cars. She immediately waved excitedly at him. Lee Zibai glanced out the window, his mood sinking. Could that brat really be planning to deliver meals to Weiji? He clenched his teeth. My daughter is only 3 and already some little wolf pup is eyeing her. With that thought, Lee Zibai yanked Weiji into his arms. Still, judging by that brat's show of force, he clearly wasn't just any kid. That day, the movie king and his children followed the crew to the ancient town. The second brother suggested they stroll around first to get familiar with the place, rattling off a list of local snacks. But Weiji insisted on waiting for her brother Hua, since he had promised to bring her lunch today. The second brother scoffed. What's so special about his food? Just then the doorbell rang. When he opened it, sure enough, it was Hua Tingxi. Behind him stood 4 bodyguards in suits, each carrying a tray. With total dominance, Hua Tingxi declared, street food here isn't clean. I had fresh meals prepared at the hotel. As the trays were uncovered, a wave of rich aromas filled the room. The second brother grudgingly let them in, fuming inside. Ugh, this CEO-style arrogance is unbearable. After the feast, Hua Tingxi casually took Weiji's hand, ready to explore the ancient town with her. The second brother clenched his teeth, swearing, I'll return his protection money and then beat him so badly even my sister won't recognize him. But the youngest immediately ruined his tough act. Second bro, you can't beat him. The second brother exploded. Who asked you to talk? At that moment, Hua Tingxi asked Weiji, is there anything you want to buy? Weiji thought hard and realized, yes, there was. She broke free from his hand and ran straight to her eldest brother. Big brother, I want a phone. Both the eldest and second brother immediately refused. After all, she was only 3, couldn't even read yet, and the eldest added, phones are bad for your eyes. Weiji pouted in frustration. For the first time, she realized how inconvenient being small could be. Hua Tingxi didn't know why she was so fixated on a phone, but if Weiji wanted something, he would make sure she got it. He stepped up to Li Jianshan, the eldest, and said coldly, lower your head. I need to tell you something. Li Jianshan flatly refused. No. The crown will fall. You can tiptoe. Hua Tingxi had no choice but to state it plainly. By the phone. You control her screen time. Li Jianshan glanced at his little sister's pitiful face. He finally sighed and gave in. Fine. Buy it. Weiji squealed in delight, planting a kiss on her big brother's cheek. Big brother, you're the best. And brother Hua is the best too. The group headed to a phone store, but the clerk firmly told them no phones could be sold to kids without an adult. Li Jianshan suggested, why not send in the bodyguards? But Hua Tingxi immediately objected. No. Weiji tilted her head. Why not? Hua Tingxi replied dead serious, because I'm too smart. Someone ordered my bodyguards to only protect me, and never listen to me about anything else. The answer was so over the top that Weiji couldn't even argue back. Left with no choice, the kids decided to find someone on the street to help. Li Jianshan spotted a friendly-looking uncle enthusiastically giving directions to tourists. He stepped up and asked for help. The man readily agreed. The children hid nearby, watching as the uncle bought the phones for them. Soon the uncle came back saying, 5 identical phones, 12,000 total, plus 300 service fee. He even handed them a receipt and cheerfully offered to escort them to the bank for cash. Money was exchanged and the kids gratefully thanked him. But when they pulled the phones out, they discovered every single one was just a demo model. Li Yanjing bolted after the scammer, only to find he had vanished without a trace. Clearly a seasoned con artist. Li Yanjing nearly cried out. That was Big Brother's entire semester's scholarship. Hearing that, Weiji felt deeply guilty. Huatingxi stayed calm and suggested, "Send Weiji home first, then we'll look around nearby." He reasoned the scammer knew the area too well, he must be a local. So they began searching along the streets. Suddenly, a girl's cries echoed from a nearby alley. They hurried toward the sound. Out of nowhere, a little girl was kicked out and landed hard right in front of them. Looking up, they saw the attacker. It was the very scammer they were after. The eldest brother barked orders. "Third bro, stay put. Second bro, go." Fired up by justice, the kids ganged up and gave the scammer a beating, only to get hauled into the police station themselves. Li Zibai, movie king and exasperated dad, arrived with his daughter to bail them out. The police explained the man was a repeat offender who abused foster children, so technically the boy's actions counted as heroic intervention. Still, they advised Li Zibai to teach his kids not to solve everything with fists. Since Huatingxi's family hadn't arrived yet, he told Weiji to head back with her dad first. Then he raised a hand, waving goodbye to her with a solemn look. Walking out of the station, Li Zibai's face was stone cold. "Tell me, what did you do wrong?" The second brother quickly blurted out, "We shouldn't have fought." Li Zibai replied with a dry, "Heh." Then came the verdict, "No dinner for you tonight." The third brother panicked and added, "We shouldn't have gone after the bad guy ourselves." Same result, "No dinner for you either." The eldest, however, knew exactly where to aim at Dad's soft spot. With guilt written all over his face, he said, "We shouldn't have secretly bought a phone for little sister. And when things happened, we should have taken her home first." Sure enough, the moment Weiji was mentioned, Li Zibai's tone softened. "You can eat tonight, but you'll stand 2 hours as punishment. The other 2, 3 hours. Now get in the car." But just as they got in, a little girl rushed forward and dropped to her knees, banging her head on the ground. It was the scammer's foster daughter. Li Yanjing, the second brother, asked quietly, "Dad, can we help her?" Li Zibai shot back coldly, "And how exactly?" "Take her home and feed her yourself." Weiji turned to look outside. She could see a rare aura of hardship clinging to the girl. And those desperate eyes, they were exactly like her own in her past life when she had no one. Tears welled up as she pleaded, "Daddy, can we please help her?" Li Zibai froze for a moment, gently wiping the tears from Weiji's eyes before whispering, "All right." He then instructed his manager to return to the station and gather more details about the girl. When the manager came back, she was furious. "That foster father is scum. He adopted her 3 years ago just to collect subsidies." Li Zibai thought for a while, then softly asked Weiji, "Baby, how about we send her to the welfare home? There she'll have a clean place to live, hot meals, and no one will ever hit her again. And you can visit her anytime you want." Overjoyed, Weiji planted a kiss on her father's cheek. Then she dashed out of the car calling, "Sister, don't be afraid, come home with me." The little girl still hesitated, but suddenly someone grabbed her by the collar, trying to drag her toward the car. She quickly slapped his hand away and climbed in on her own. Back at the hotel, once she changed into clean clothes, she instantly looked like a sweet porcelain doll. Curious, Weiji asked her name and learned it was Jiang Ying. She told Jiang Ying that when they got home, they'd take her to the welfare house. Nervously, Jiang Ying asked, "Can't I stay with you instead?" Weiji let out a long sigh. "Our family already has so many people. I can't add more trouble for Daddy." But then she spun around, declaring firmly, "I'll come visit you all the time. And if anyone dares to bully you, I'll make my brothers beat them up for you." To reassure her new sister, Weiji stretched out her tiny hand, asking for a pinky promise. That finally brought a smile to Jiang Ying's face. The next morning, Dad and the brothers came to get Weiji for breakfast, only to find Jiang Ying scrubbing the hotel floor. Li Zibai quickly told her, "This is a hotel. There are staff to clean. No need for you to do it." Jiang Ying froze, unsure what to do. Li Yanjing grew impatient and tried to yank the rag from her hand, but she only clutched it tighter. Luckily, Weiji stepped in and stopped him, gently telling Jiang Ying to put the rag down. She explained they were going to record a show today and that Jiang Ying should stay in the hotel and eat properly. Li Yanjing scowled. "We're the ones who saved her. Why does she only listen to little sister?" Looking around and not seeing Huatingxi, Weiji grew anxious and asked her dad and brothers, Why didn't Huigij come? Li Zibai had never wanted that brat anywhere near his daughter, but with Weiji pouting and begging, he reluctantly picked up the phone. On the other end, the news hit hard. Hutingxi had been in a car accident the night before.